Hey guys, I'm back with chapter 12 in Run With Me, and it's called A Moment of Silence, and it's probably going to be a two-part because it's decently long, so forgive me if I have to stop halfway through. But until then, I'm gonna go ahead and drag you through it. I struggled with the buttons on my shirt, feeling my pulse set blood through my veins in undulation. Coco's voicemail wasn't anything in the likes of serenity. To hightail it while burning rubber just to arrive at his house on time still didn't get me there any faster to his doorstep. I straightened my vest, giving myself a nice GI tuck, smiling at my bootlegger persona through the reflection of a glass door. Sky ran her hands down her thigh, adjusting the cuffs of her skinny jeans that scrunched around each ankle. My eyes darted at her polished toes, peeking out from the tips of her Balenciagos, paused momentarily in admiration. Her style was just amazing, and one in which could not be labeled. She liked to keep it that way, vintage yet classy and unique. Adjusting her leather thigh sheath, I absent-mindedly ran my hands up and down the fabric of her camo blouse. Slowly rising to straighten her posture, Sky tugged at the suspenders that hung off my hips, pulling her cheeks into a smile. Monsieur Bojangles? I love a man with exceptional taste. As we both stand anomalous majority of the time, I returned the gesture. Interrupting our moment of endearment, Coco pulled his front door open with a staid gaze. Motioning for us to come inside, I sequenced Sky's lead. Without a word, we followed suit, entering his office. Plopping down forcefully into his chair, Coco pushed a newspaper article towards the edge of his desk. Pulling it into my view, I began reading over its title. Teen boy found dead in garage by committed suicide. My throat dried the further I read. Once my eyes landed on Jacoby Rocko in bold print, bile rose from my stomach. Oh, Jesus Christ, I stammered. Do you want to know why the punk took his own life? I haven't spoken to him in months. I had no idea he was on the verge of doing something so tragic. Sky took the article from my hand, taking a wide-eyed gander. It seems to me that he was at a loss without his older brother. Word from one of your county deputies is that Johnny is being held accountable for all three murders in first degree. Your little friend is looking at death row. No, I thought he wasn't being prosecuted until the end of the month. They can't seem to get him to talk. He's willing to give his life for you, and the rest who were involved. He called me months back telling me that he gave up the hiding spot to those murder weapons we implemented. That is why I'm running in the first place. I was afraid of them finding fingertips, yet it doesn't make any sense because we all wore gloves. Coco's expression formed a devious grin, watching me untangle the web of the misinterpretation. Now do you see, my son? Johnny only called you to have you under the impression that he gave you up. He was trying to save you from the one who was truly after you, Juniper. He found out long before you ever knew my name. So you're meaning to tell me that Johnny knows of this entire scandal? He knows that being behind bars is the safest place for him at the time, until this mess is at least cleaned up. Then why did Jacoby kill himself? One of Juniper's men was sent to kill him. Juniper is all about making those who hurt him suffer in the worst ways possible. He knew Johnny would eventually find out, causing guilt and trauma. Leaving him to deteriorate over the thought of not being able to save Jacoby or to bring him back. Taking his own life as favorable compared to the horrific wrath of Juniper that had awaited him. So because Johnny is safe behind bars, as you say, Juniper can't touch him. Trent and Tiffany are safe under your watch just as I am, but he is still coming for us. Precisely. And he will not stop until you are all dead. This is why you're going to kill him. He would rather kill you by his own hand than to let you continue seeing the light of day, incarcerated. The prick knows all too well about, even to split a hair over conjuring some courageous audacity, thinking he can bring his ass into my property without immediate execution. I didn't think that I'd rack up a body count. I dragged my fingertips down both cheeks in a prominent daze. Welcome to the world of carnage and deceit, Malice. You have a body count resting on your weary conscience until you take your last godforsaken breath. There's no escaping its crucial fate. You will be pushed to make rash decisions, and you will hurt people, possibly those in which you love. His eyes shifted to Sky. My eyes lowered to the floor, feeling failure for the very first time. I at least need to go home and pay my condolement. Coco bowed his head. I already planned a trip for y'all to go. Take as much personal time as needed. I will have my men on standby if anything is to go wrong. In the meantime, I'll be in touch. I walked sluggishly to the front door, trying to keep my knees from giving out. Gripping my hand around the gear shifter, Sky overlapped it with unspoken empathy. I went straight for a bottle of whiskey once I entered the house. Trent was laid up on the couch with Tiffany rested in his lap watching TV. Without thinking twice, I pulled the bottle to my lips, enduring several large swigs until my insides were burning into flames. Christ, Malice, you want a fucking glass? You look like your father over there, Trent joked. I slammed the half-empty bottle down to the counter, rubbing my numb lips together. Jacoby's dead. What did you say? Trent's voice shook. Yeah, he's gone. Speaking of gone, where the hell is Nikki? She left early this morning, Tiffany informed. I'm going to throw on some gloves and hit the bag for a while to release some of this stress. Trent got up to second my idea. And grappling on the mats completely covered in sweat, I felt excess saliva build up in the recess of my mouth guard as I stretched Trent into an armbar. He tapped out, quickly rolling up onto his feet, giving a judo kick to my face, spinning me 180 degrees. I came back with a death punch to his jaw, watching his mouth guard fall to the floor. Drooling blooded saliva, Trent jabbed my bottom jaw with a formal uppercut, sending pain straight through my skull. A triple punch to his head had Trent fallen to me. I spun him around into a chokehold, slamming us both onto our backs. The tighter I squeezed, the more Trent gasped for air. Arching his back, Trent elbowed me in the ribcage, prying from my grip. I shot my leg out, tripping his unstable position, sending him back down onto his ass. Able to back roll up onto his feet once more, Trent spun into a roundhouse kick, hitting my jaw so hard my neck cracked. Unable to accept defeat, I hopped up with a 3-foot vertical, straddling my waist his waist with my thighs, giving the squeeze of a python. His breath left him as he fell backwards to the floor. Having the advantage, I ground pounded him until he tapped out defeat. Helping Trent to his feet with a sweaty handshake, we both laughed amongst each other over a great match. To my surprise, Sky was standing in the doorway, extending a water bottle in my direction. Want to see a real fight, Trent? Sky said maliciously. Gladly accepting his gloves, Sky strapped them on as tight as they could go to fit her dainty hands. I let my pride shine, mistakenly underestimating her skills. Throwing my hands up to protect my face, I stepped back, taking an unforeseen punch to the nose. Sky bounced around like Rocky, smelling at the sight of my blood. I wiped my nose, sending red droplets onto the mat below, but I didn't let that stop me. I extended my arm to throw a punch when Sky's leg kicked it out of the way, sending her fist straight into my jaw. With another thrust into my ribcage, I fell to my knees, gasping for air. Still able to move, I pulled Sky down to her back, placing myself into a half mount. Thinking I had the upper hand, I left the company of a knee to my groin. Beyond my tolerance of illness, I rolled over, giving Sky full advantage to mount me completely. Sky's glove met the corner of my eyebrow, shooting extreme pain to my brain. I became playfully aggressive, maneuvering my position into a rubber guard, forcing her into submission. Rolling my weight over to hover above Sky, she lied powerless, catching her breath. She gave one last hook to my jaw, locking her legs around my ribcage for a tight squeeze. Looking down into her eyes, Sky flicked an eyebrow, silently daring me to tap out. Swallowing my pride, I reached up, tapping my forefingers against her ass. Defeated, Sky whispered. I rubbed my sweaty body all over her for revenge, laughing while I tickled her. Come shower with me, my voice lowered. Sky bit her lip at the thought of a naughty invitation, and Trenton's laughter disappeared up the stairs, with us right behind, venturing to our bedroom. Not able to free my mind of the facts previously relayed, I became extremely upset. Pink-colored water circulated around the drain before making its exit down the pipes. The hurt in my chest for Jacoby tore at my heartstrings as I lowered myself to my knees. The water crashing against my skin like a switch's lash, yet my chest expanded with the comfort of Sky's hands cupped against my pecs as she rested against my back. I wanted to drown myself, just to escape the further tragedy that awaited me. I felt I was being tested beyond my will and leisure. Pulling the zipper to my suitcase closed. Sky stood behind me with an unwavering gaze. What is it? I just find it hard to believe that I'm involved with such an amazing man. Your touch is the most powerful reassurance I've ever felt. I want to forever be bound to your side, no matter the mayhem or destruction we may encounter. I pressed my lips against Sky's head, inhaling the mesmerizing scent that entered my nostrils the day we met. Trent and Tiffany were down in the car waiting on us. I was somewhat excited to show Sky where I grew up, even though it wasn't anything extraordinary. Dressed in all black, with a dark mind and a crumbling heart, I stood next to an old oak tree clutching Sky's hand. Trent sat in the audience with Tiffany along with their families. Behind my shades, sadness filled my eyes, sending hot tears down my cheeks once Mr. Rocko took the podium and began reading his eulogy. I didn't dare approach Jacoby's body until everyone left the burial site, and Mr. Rocko stood with a heavy heart by the casket, mourning over the loss of his son. I parted myself away from Sky, making my way over to him. Laying flowers atop Jacoby's morbid sarcophagus, Mr. Rocko followed my arm, realizing who it was that stood beside him. Malice? His voice broke. Yes, it's me. Holy Christ. We all thought you were dead. He pulled me into his embrace. I sagged into his strength, for it reminded me of what a father's sincere gesture felt like. I might as well be, I sighed. I'll let you have a moment with him. My wife is cooking dinner, and you are more than welcome to come by, he offered before leaving. I glared at the head of the casket before saying my blessing. Christ, Jacoby. I can't express how sorry I am for letting all this happen. I promised your brother that I'd take care of you and to look, out for you, and look at me. I fought from violently sobbing. I failed you. I failed him. God damn it. I failed every person I have ever cared about. Everyone I come into contact with dies, and everything I touch hurts. It just hurts. I feel like a masqueraded grim forced into servitude, whose caged heart fights to break free and love without damaging. Your presumed life will have a crucial consequence in the coming days, and a piece of my heart will always be with you. I love you, brother, and may you rest in peace. I turned my head, watching a woman beneath a small black veil give a satisfied smirk before getting into the back of a town car. It looks like Nikki somehow made it back here. I heard Trent behind me, which is rather sketchy. Did Mr. Rocko invite you over as well? He did, but I can't become emotionally invested right now. I respectfully declined due to the fact I only came to pay my condolences and to say my final goodbye to our brother. Besides, I don't need word getting out that my face was shown here. Trent just stood by, gazing. What are you gonna do now? Take Sky on a little detour? I'll meet you back at the house. Please be safe. Sky was excited for a little tour of the town I was raised in. And driving down the road I once resided on surfaced my tormenting memories. A for sale sign was posted near the mailbox that stood before the empty lot. The area was barren with ash still mixed into the soil, preventing life from flourishing beneath. I crouched down, centering the wounded ground and its remnants that lied about in devastation. Well, this is where my living room is at. My voice broke. Oh, Malice. Sky sighed, kneeling down beside me. I've had horrible times in this house. I've let my feelings and memories bury down deep inside this burdened soil, letting it suffocate with the dissolution of my father's abusive alcoholic notoriety. My jaw tightened. With no words spoken in return, Sky let me vent without interruption. To better my attitude, I took Sky for a walk down the boardwalk, watching the water splash against the molded pillars below. I pulled out a joint from earlier, igniting its end carelessly. Holding the smoke in while fighting the urge to cough, I released a thick cloud into Sky's mouth. Exhaling through her nostrils, Sky reached her hand up, rubbing the destitution of my sandpapered face as I stood at a loss for contentment. Throughout your tribulations and your losses, Sky pressed her hand to my chest. Your heart still beats. It offers so much love that you may feel you've lost or seem incapable of giving. I know that's how you feel by the certain look in your eyes. Your gaze seems cold, yet it's sincere. You long for what's been taken rather than appreciate what has been given, exemptable to replace it. I pulled her face into mine, nearly losing my breath, running my hands through her hair aggressively. Sky returned the pressure, digging her nails into my cheeks, breathing ferociously through her nostrils. Veering back for respiration, I looked Sky deep in the eyes. My heart will forever beat in your name. If I lost you, I'd completely lose my fucking mind. I can't imagine a day without you tucked into my embrace. Before blood, before everything, it will always be you. It always has been. I know you don't want to stay here, and I don't blame you one bit. I have this cabin that is about 25 minutes out from my parents' house. I think we should spend a day or two there, just to get away. Okay? I nodded, handing over the keys to the Chevelle, with Sky looking at me with uncertainty. Go on now. You know the way, I laughed, opening the passenger side door. Sky was in more of a daring mood as opposed to her diplomacy persona, and she was forced to bear well on the job. Throwing the car into first gear, easing off the clutch, I felt it slam back into our seats as we picked up speed. I turned up the radio to show, to some slow alternative while blazing away, enjoying myself. Once I'd become bored with the scenery, I'd catch myself sizing Sky up and down, admiring her innocent disposition. I suggested we stop at a corner store before I was forced to piss on myself. Sky filled the tank while I went inside to take care of business. I leaned my head back in relief as I left my artwork on the urinal's wall. Who knew it felt so fucking good to piss after holding it forever and a day? Walking down the aisles looking for a drink, I glanced out the glass window, seeing Sky leaned up against the car, pump in hand. Grabbing a bottle of water, I admired Sky while I stood in line. Shoving out the door, I heard a disturbance to my left. I turned my head, witnessing a group of guys hassling a vagrant for some money. For a moment, I saw myself under the weight of Charlie and his friends that day in the parking lot. I shook the thought and continued walking. I had my own war to wage, and this wasn't it. Sitting inside the car, choosing to ignore the madness that went on outside, Sky jumped in, giving me an overbearing stare. I felt her eyes burn through me like lasers, forcing me to look up. Malice? I know you're not going to sit there and let that go on. I know your conscience all too well. I exaggerated a sigh, flinging my door open. Sometimes I hate the fact that you see good in me. I stalked over to the group of assholes without saying a word to break up the fight. I took one by the back of the neck, who was much bigger in weight, and slammed his head against the payphone, knocking him unconscious. The other two looked at me in fear as I reached down, pulling the older gentleman to his feet. Are you all right, sir? Yes, thank you so much. God bless you, young man. I dusted the man off, grimacing at his toothless mouth that bled. Glancing over my shoulder, I could see Sky, with concern marked upon her face. Holy shit, who the fuck are you? Don't worry about who I am. I'd be more worried about the fact of what I will do to the both of you if you don't get the fuck out of my sight. It's quite pathetic that you choose to pick on one who is obviously decrepit. I pulled out $100 bill, placing it inside the man's jeans, while leaning in to hug him. Check your back pocket, I whispered. I felt a hand grab my shoulder, causing me to duck before a fist met my face. I immediately grabbed him by the throat, pulling my gun from its holster, slamming him against the cinder block wall. If you don't want your fucking head blown off right here for everyone to see, I suggest you leave now, I bit out. He took his friend up by the arm, running off into the distance. I gave a swift kick to the one rested on the concrete.